Ooh. Well, that's framed quite nicely. I don't understand why that's so funny. Anyway.
That's better.
I have to turn the radio off as well, aren't I? Because it's going to blare on. We can't have license for it. Right, so this is going to be the last review of a film in this car. Because this afternoon, I bought a different one. And I'm picking up on Tuesday. So it's still a Citroen, still a C1, but it's a C1 Flare. So it's got flair. Or it wears flares. Or it's a firework, I'm not sure. But it's nice, it's got little silver mirrors, it's white, it's got trims, and it's going to be called Barry. Because it's CF18 BGE, so it's a BG. And it can't be Morris or Robin because they're already cars. So it has to be Barry. Anyway, that's nothing to do with Bill and Ted Face the Music, which is the film we're going to talk about. So we've been to see Bill and Ted Face the Music. And I giggled like a loon all the way through it. I thought it was immense fun. I was a big fan, particularly of Bill and Ted's Bogus Journey, more than Excellent Adventure. To the point where I've got to admit, it did feel a bit weird actually. The fact that I wasn't watching it with Alex, I kind of felt like we should have watched that together, but because of COVID and blah 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 blah.
Thanks.
You know, with you as well, you know, that's fine. But you know, me and Alex went to I think a couple of. Well, I think it was even just one. I think several times we went to fancy dress parties as Bill and Ted. And on one occasion, someone had completely unplanned and nothing to do with us whatsoever, but randomly just turned up also as Death. So it was brilliant. We had the full set. So yeah, I mean, it was always going to be a bit. Do we need Bill and Ted now? Do we need to see them in their 50s? And I've got to admit, in the beginning, it felt like I didn't like seeing them as older guys. The whole, because they've kept the characters and it didn't, I wasn't quite with it at first, but that kind of wore off quite quickly. And it's not massive on story, it's a Bill and Ted film. It's not meant to be. If you're expecting some sort of, I don't know, Christopher Nolan-esque, M. Night Shyamalan amazing plot twist, go and see a different film. You're not going to get it in Bill and Ted. But it was just daft, it was silly, it was a hoot. I think it's very true to its own characters, its own mythos, its own franchise. It's sort of, in lots of ways, is kind of just a blend of the first two, I think, as well. But you know, it's not one you need to rush out and see at the cinema necessarily if you haven't returned to the cinema yet. You know, save that trip for Wonder Woman or something. But is it worth watching if you've seen the other two and thought they're fun? Yeah. Will you have a bit of a giggle with it? Yeah. I think it's worth it. What do you think?
Bill and Ted Face the Music was a movie that I watched. I should be fair and point out that I've only seen the second one. Did you just indicate that?
No, I just put my headlights on after 3 cars in a row flashed me.
Okay, oops. So yes. So anyway, second movie is one I saw when I was at uni. Was basically dragged along by sort of friends I was with at the time and absolutely hated it. So I am 100% not the target audience for this type of movie. I didn't hate Face the Music. I certainly didn't like giggle constantly, but there were a couple of moments that I did think were quite funny. It was very weird seeing Keanu Reeves especially.
Yeah, because I think the other thing with Keanu Reeves is we're used to modern day Keanu being bearded.
Yes.
And he isn't.
Yes. And weirdly, unlike everyone else, Keanu Reeves without a beard looks older than Keanu Reeves with a beard, which is just you know, completely against the laws of human biology, beard, physics, whatever you want to do, and is just odd. But yeah, they very much were the characters that I remember from the second movie, and bear in mind that's what, 25 years ago now?
1992, I think.
So maybe more, I don't know,
Yeah.
I'm rubbish at doing maths in my head.
I mean, they kept saying 25 years in the film, but I think it's more like about 28, 29.
Right. But yeah, would agree with everything that you said, that, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, if you're a Bill and Ted fan, you will probably find lots to enjoy in this movie. If you're not a Bill and Ted fan, this will probably not change your mind. And yeah, if you haven't gone to the cinema yet, this is not one to break that exile. But if you do want to watch a movie, and yeah, you're not averse to going to the cinema even under the current restrictions, crack on. So yeah, that's my 2
Yeah,
pence.
that's good. You know what was very interesting though was we had no trailers for other films
Yes.
at all. We had a couple of commercials, and then it did the whole these trailers are chosen especially for you, meaning they're age appropriate, yada yada yada. And then no trailers happened.
Yeah, it was literally
It was
just
an advert
Cineworld
for Cineworld.
doing welcome back. You know, we're back
Cineworld
at
is
the-
now open. I'm like, yeah, we know. We're sat in Cineworld. No shit, Sherlock. We figured that one out. Thanks a lot. But what we did have immense fun with is they ran on a loop various Cineworld trailers, and we've come up with backstories for all of the characters.
And some of them are filthy.
They're all filthy. There was basically one that was a mum, 2 kids, and a dad. And the dad and the son at the other end. And the dad's got this real smug, and he's throwing his head back, and he's throwing popcorn down his leg, and he's laughing. And the kids are just sat there. And the mum just sort of looks across, and at one moment, she just looks a little bit like she doesn't really want to be there. Like it's a bit, yeah, you sit there and enjoy the fucking film while I look after the kids. And so we decided the thought going through her head was, I should have made him pull out. So.
He says we.
Okay, my head, me. Then there was another one where there was 2 blokes, and one of them was again watching the film, and the other one kind of just slapped his arm, and they're all grinning. I decided that slapping his arm dude was basically going, yeah, you're going to ram me later on. Because it's the kind of look he had in his face.
To be fair, that one we agreed on.
That one we agreed on. Then later on, you see those 2 again, but with other people. So all of a sudden, little Nelly Bottom Boy has got a whole other boyfriend who looks even camper than he does. So that kind of threw that into disarray. And Big Dude has got a girlfriend. So I don't know if there's just a kinky thing going on between all of them, or maybe because she's plugged herself squarely between them. Like she knows he's been showing him up the shitter on the side. I don't know. And she's like, right, I'm sitting in the middle here. And what? It's my YouTube channel. And
For now.
look, I get like 10 views for every video. I really haven't got to worry about anything, have I? And then we were watching, and they do this thing where the people are all sort of like. And I just turned to him and went, have you ever done that in a film in the cinema? No. Who does? Who gets all sort of like... I mean, I think I've possibly done it at live theatre. I don't think I've ever or often super reacted to anything in a film.
Definitely not film, but we did do it for the Christmas Panto.
Yeah.
Because,
Well,
my
again-
God, that was hysterical.
Yeah, but that again, live theatre is a slightly different thing because they're live and they're there, you're kind of more into it. So you become more animated and stuff. But in film, I can only think of a very few number of occasions where I physically reacted. And the main one I can think of is the
An
very...
Astra where you wanted to vomit.
I want to walk out of that. No, Back to the Future Part 3, the very first time I saw it in New York, and when at the end it's all over and he's finally back in 1985 and the DeLorean's on the train tracks and the train's coming towards him, I sat
alert.
forward. Yeah. Look, if you haven't seen Back to the Future 3 by now, you've got a fucking problem. What is wrong with you if you haven't seen it? Get out. And I clutched the back of the chair in front of me.
Did you clutch your pearls?
I clutched the chair, a whole chair of pearls. And then when the train went through it and it was smashed to pieces, I actually stood up and went, because it's the DeLorean, and I was mortified. I was also piss-soaking wet because it rained really hard that day, and we had nowhere to go, which is why I went to the cinema to try and dry out. Failed, didn't even dry out, and then back out in the rain. And you just don't do it. So all of these things, and then there's this bit where someone takes their card out, examines their unlimited card, and puts it back. I'm like, don't think I've ever done that.
To be fair, I have actually done that.
Are you sure you've done that in the cinema? In your seat, gone, I'm just going to shine the light on my unlimited card. Oh, look how the light moves across it. Have you done that, really?
I think I did do it once. I think it was the first time I actually got to use it when we went to the cinema, and it was all quite exciting.
Well, maybe then. But next time you go to the cinema, just watch. Because every chain's going to have it. It doesn't matter if you're at Odeon or at View or wherever you are. They're all going to have these on-brand promos. Just see how lifelike they are. You can apply this to advertising in general, to be fair. It's a massive bugbear of mine, having worked in advertising for donkey's years. I've done it. I am guilty of it, but I always try to avoid it. It's an absolute last resort when you're backed into fuck off. When you're backed into a corner. I always try and do the whole people don't talk like that argument with clients. You can't always get away with it because you have ultimately got 30 seconds to get whatever information you cross and yada yada yada. But just how unrealistic life is in commercials. Oh, to live in that world. Actually, no, it'd be fucking horrendous. Who am I kidding? You can press stop.